Welcome to News9 Mediaverse, and you are watching a special edition of Modi at 73. Yes, Prime Minister Modi turns 73. Since assuming office in 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spearheaded India's progress with remarkable accomplishment and achievement. He has changed the template of Indian politics in ways in which Nehru and Indira did, because they were durable. And despite losing election as Indira Gandhi did, the legacy lasted. As Nehru passed away, his legacy endured. Prime Minister in his tenure, and since he is seeking the third one, the legacy is yet to be made, evaluated, understood, and reaffirmed. But the fact is, he has in a way changed the contours of the Indian politics. News9 today, on his birthday, will take you through different templates of Modi's politics, foreign policy, his challenges, his achievements, his economic vision. But today in my show, I'm going to talk about politics, my favorite topic. I'm going to delineate, ponder over, talk, demystify what Modi has done. Is his legacy enduring? Is it going to be long lasting? Well, juries are out on this. But if you ask me, there are 8 or 9 things I can say he has definitely changed. On this issue, I'll be joined by Sanjeev Nistal, Director ACE Research at Research Center, Gautam Mukherjee, Senior Journalist, and Bhanuchandra Nagarajan, Public Policy Expert. And I'm also joined in studio by our input editor, Brijesh Pandey. And let me take you through the 9 points first. What has Modi done actually? Those 9 templates. The first and most important of all which the Prime Minister has done is that he has created political stability. It has become a plank. The second template is Prime Minister Modi has expanded BJP. I'll come to the rest of them, but first we'll talk about political stability, that template. Brijesh, your thoughts on it?
Well, absolutely. I think after 1984's government, for the first time, the country which has, seen various coalition governments and also, bore the brunt of the pitfalls of those coalition governments, which we saw during the UPA 1, UPA 2 regime. I think all of them were paid to rest during Narendra Modi's tenure number 1 from 2014 to 2019, and then from 2019 till this date. He has brought a degree of stability, and more importantly, I would say, Karthike, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has today or has taken BJP at its apogee of political powers. When they talked about Kashmir se Kanyakumari tak, I think, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, BJP has actually realized their dream, from Kashmir to the 7 states in Northeast, to maximum states in which the BJP's, political footprints now expanded. I think this is the golden period of the Bharatiya Janata Party as a political party, if I may say so. And the stability factor, has also seen its unmistakable imprint on several policy which has been taken by or which has been, put forth by the Prime Minister, because stability provides one of the key things, which is consistency. And the Prime Minister's legacy, the Prime Minister's approach vis-a-vis that stability, that mark of governance is definitely there. So I think, when we talk of Amrit Kal, in jest I can say that right now the BJP as a political party is definitely from 2014 till as we speak and discuss and dissect, Prime Minister's electoral performance is really in its real Amrit Kal.
So if you look at, these 9 points, Brijesh, when we spoke to each other, when we decided, Prime Minister Modi provided strong and stable leadership, yes. That's one. Secured a clear majority on its own in general election. That's something very important. 20 Absolutely. Years of that bipolarity is gone. Then, if you look at other issues, Prime Minister Modi has expanded the party in Northeast, succeeded in winning state elections, various states, which is very important. Apart from that, Prime Minister Modi, in a way, did not make the footprint even dense. he made it, diverse, reduce dependence on smaller regional parties. When we say dependence, he made BJP stronger. He made BJP stronger. And stronger in the sense is different from NDA.
Cut into the, the maneuverings and the pulls and pressures of the regional parties also very, very less, next to negligible.
Okay, and let me go across to our guests. I am also joined by, as I said, Bhanu Chandra Nagarajan ji. I'll also be joined by Gautam Mukherjee, and I'll also be joined by Sanjay Nisal. Warm welcome to you on our special edition of Modi at 73. A very warm welcome to all of you. Gautam, are you? If you're, if I'm audible to you, my question to you is: what do you think is the most important impact of Prime Minister's political persona at the center when he transitioned from Gujarat to Delhi?
Started off by consolidating on the basis of his majority vote, and now he's something of a world figure. There is no two ways about it. With a 76% rating, approval rating in the world, followed by Lula at about 48 or 50%. And considerable progress has been made in India. We are not the same India at all. It's not incremental. It is dramatic and transformational since 2014.
Respond to this? The point he made?
Well, I think, I didn't clearly heard his point, because the audio was a bit low. But I would say that Karthikeya, the most important thing is that, that his entire, the fact is that, he not only gave Bharatiya Janata Party for the first time in its electoral presence an absolute majority, but he went on to better his performance in 2019. This clearly showed that his belief, or rather his persona, was completely lapped up by the people of India. And forget general election, state election, panchayat election, municipal election. If you want to win, you have to have Prime Minister Modi campaign for you. I mean, this kind of absolute 100% dependence on one person is also something, which we saw during Mrs. Gandhi's time. But I think, Prime Minister has also taken it to another level. In my living memory, I have not seen, a political party depending on one person so completely, so absolutely to deliver result like the present day Bharatiya Janata Party I see.
Okay. Sanjeev, are you there with me?
Yes.
Sanjeev, what about Prime Minister Modi's northeast push? I think that was unexpected, unimaginable till 2014 that you'll have government in Nagaland, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Tripura, Manipur, and even 6 months ago, Zoramthanga would be taking help from Bharatiya Janata Party. That is also unprecedented.
Yes, basically, first of all, I wish our Prime Minister a very long, a very strong, and a very dynamic life ahead. Today is his birthday. And when it comes to the policies and the politics, of course, he has scored a 10 on 10 on both of these fronts, whether it comes to his policies or on the politics part as well. Because without politics, you cannot survive, and that is the baseline. If you cannot survive, you cannot implement your policies, you cannot implement your vision that you have for the country. So this is something which differentiates him from the rest of all the leaderships that we have in this country at the moment. Now, coming to the northeast side, as you said, on the northeast front, we always, now we also have lived more than 50 years on this earth and on this in this country. We always had a kind of a feeling that northeast somewhere is our part, but also is not fully our part. But ever since Prime Minister Modi has taken charge, his focus was on northeast. Northeast is an integral part of this country, and the people there also used to feel that, okay, somehow we are attached but with a distance. But now that feeling has subsided to a large extent, and that credit goes to Prime Minister Modi. Now, coming to the policies on his part, I will cite. If you see today, there is not even a single front on which the Prime Minister has not delivered, whether it is education, healthcare, child care, Atmanirbhar Bharat, or you name it, defense, our defense, which was lagging far behind the rest of the world, far behind our own potential. But here, what is the real difference which Prime Minister Modi has made, apart from the hue and cry and apart from the things that we see on the surface? I will cite three very important points here. Number one, we talk of Kashmir or integration of Kashmir, abolition of 370, and all that. But behind and below that, there was a very strong sentiment in the country, which we all perhaps missed. And that sentiment was, I can say that it takes a heightened sense of cowardice for a country of 100 crores people and more, 100 crores plus people, to tolerate a kind of nonsensical act that was going on our own soil, in our own territory, and in our own living. I am talking of the stone pelting which was going on in Kashmir, not just for once or twice, for 35 long years. We tolerated this. It takes a height of cowardice to
Sir,
tolerate such acts. But
I
today,
slightly
we can
disagree
see
with you. I slightly disagree with you because, on his birthday today, we are not talking about
now the
what has
people who
stopped.
were
Sir, wait a minute. I think he has changed certain contours of the politics. I think that's where the discussion is. If you ask me, you have BJP as a political party defeating left in its bastion. That's the achievement of Prime Minister Modi. I think the achievement of Prime Minister Modi is to give a strong center which does not get blackmailed by regional interest in which a foreign policy gets disturbed. And I'm saying that. I don't want to name the party, but did our Prime Minister get to go to Colombo, Manmohan Singh, because one regional party objected to it? Why was Teesta delayed? Because another political party objected to it. I think Modi has been able to circumvent that. Thirdly, if you look at our Prime Minister's success, his campaign model, Swachh Bharat model, G20 Jan Bhagidari model, this is something unique. Bhanu Chandra ji, don't you agree? This is something unique. The campaign model. He has changed the template of the politics. Foreign policy has become as domestic is to the foreign policy. There is a word when I interviewed Surya Prakash, he said, and I'm quoting him, he said, when I met Prime Minister, he said, Kalpana ka daridra nahi hona chahiye administration ke paas. You should not be poor in imagining things for your own country. I think that's where he made the shift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, if you look at the big picture, Modi ji's achievements are, like what he said, stability, bringing in strong leadership and extreme coherence. And this coherence not only extends to his politics, but policy also. So, and it is all of this is based on social justice. Like even his politics is based on social justice. Policies are based on social justice, and he is able to do this because he has full grip on both his party as well as the government, and that is his biggest strength. And because of this coherence, he is able to exude this confidence not only to countries outside India but also internally. Internally, he has the pulse of the people. He has been a pracharak for such a long time, and he practices what I call social politics. Social politics means looking at politics from the level of society. There are obviously political strategies and communications and everything, but when you look at politics from the base of society, you can feel the pulse of the people. You can communicate with them in the nice storytelling way that is been the Indian tradition of communicating, and you know what actually works. So Modi ji, when people comment about Modi ji's management skills, not leadership, management skills, they talk about his attention to detail. For example, the Secretary of Swachh Bharat mission, he said that how Modi ji was asking for details about the color of the paint on the toilets, what will be written, so on and so forth. If you look at the recent G20, he brought foreign policy to people. he actually made it a people's movement. Like 115 crore Indians directly or indirectly participated in G20. Can you believe it? Because foreign, you would know, you're in Delhi, that foreign policy is usually discussed among the elites and the think tanks and the journalists and in five-star hotels and so on. He brought it to the people. So I think that is where his strength is. We are political analysts. Like we watch politics closely, so we understand things. But before coming to this program, I asked my mom and dad, totally apolitical people, on what they like about Modi ji, and one said honesty, and other said hardworking. Okay, so this simple connect and being an exemplar to people who did not even follow his ideology, but looking at him, they can imbibe something from him. And that is sort of the example that Modi ji sets in his personal life, and that is absolutely exemplary.
Another point which I would like to bring in, Gautam, is you can say it is RSS project or whatever it is, but I think this has happened, and every political party has the right to do so. The civilizational context of politics, I think that's at the heart of the I would say issue. If you look at the use of Bharat now, if you look at the politics which is about cultural nationalism, Ramayana circuit, Buddhist circuit, the emphasis on civilizational value, the way the new parliament has turned up, he in a way has displaced the Nehruvian consensus both politically and in domestic politics and internationally. Whether you like it or dislike it, Prime Minister has done it. Opposition doesn't like it, fair enough. They have their Nehruvian consensus. But he is the only Prime Minister who has been able to do it. Even Vajpayee was not able to do that. Gautam.
Yeah, without a doubt. I quite agree with you. What has happened here is, a work in progress. I think eventually his successors will take this to Hindu Rashtra. The basis will be inclusivity of a different kind. The minorities will not be persecuted and discarded and boxed in, but they will not be allowed to act up and want the major share of the pie and be capable of the kind of victimhood that they display. And certainly there'll be an end to terrorism. I also think a part of this project will be the return of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan before long. The fact that India is, I know the old policy wonks keep talking about strategic autonomy, but I think we are nothing but a US ally now, which in fact gives you a lot of heft, both in terms of multilateral agencies and their lending. It gives you heft in Africa with the UCC. It gives you heft in Europe with the European Union. And Russia is also not going anywhere, even though our dependence on Russia is being reduced as we speak. We are going to stop using their planes. We are going to stop ordering fresh equipment on them. And they are in a bit of a mess with the Ukraine war. And it remains to be seen to what extent they'll revive and when after this is over. But in the meantime, this is not just a displacement of Nehruvian idea of India. It is a sea change and, if you like, a coming of age for this country because it's long been discriminated against in terms of its majority, and that is being changed in without any embarrassment or unabashedly. There is no attempt to hide it or couch it in the old twisted secularism that has been practiced here for so long.
Sanjeev?
Yes.
What do you have to say in context of the shift which has taken place? If you look at the use of the words, the central principle of cultural heritage, cultural policy, which the Prime Minister has been talking about, I think there's a very visible manifest shift in the political idiom throughout India. For example, You remember Mamallapuram when he went? He started. It's okay, Dravidian politics has its relevance, but he spoke about Meenakshi Puram. He spoke about Meenakshi Puram to Kashi. Talk political talk in context of civilizational heritage is very, very pronounced.
Yes, yes, yes. Basically, one word to explain this will be a tectonic shift. It can be said that under Prime Minister Modi, a tectonic shift has taken place on the part of our cultural heritage and the way we used to display it. For example, you can see in the recent this G20 summit also, Konark was kept as the base before which all the world leaders were met, and then the Prime Minister also explained the value and the merits, the genius of the wheel. Then the Nalanda was also kept on the background. Contrast this with only one kind of image that India always used to have, and that was Taj Mahal. So there is a tectonic shift in the way we want to project ourselves to the world and the way we want to handle our affairs inside and outside. So this is something which is really phenomenal. This is phenomenal and this is unprecedented. And this is also going to take its own course in due future. I mean, whoever comes in the governance, Prime Minister Modi has set a clear template on which they can move forward. Whoever party comes, irrespective of the party, now the template is set, the shift has been tectonic, and the progress on which it can build upon is going to be phenomenal. A phenomenal progress is possible now onwards, moving forward for the country, and not just for up to 2047. India is now going to become the Vishwaguru, as we can foresee now. This is for sure.
Brijesh, Vishwaguru is a word. That's it's a political word. But your thoughts in context of the shift in the nuance of or the usage of words in politics. RSS tried a lot in 60s, 70s, 80s. They were not able to do that. But Prime Minister has been able to do that. If we do the bone by bone analysis. For example, Congress had an ecosystem in place, as in politics we would say, intellectuals in place, retired judiciary members in place, Today BJP has all that in place. If Congress criticizes one thing, you have 350 people, writers, jurists, retired foreign policy experts coming out with a statement. That was the forte of the Congress party. Under him, BJP has been able to do so. Under even Vajpayee, they couldn't do that.
Well, Karthikeya, all of it stems from one word, or rather two words: absolute majority. See, if you depended on 50 crutches, like if you remember the governance of Srimati Indira Gandhi or Rajiv Gandhi for that matter, you are not subjected to the pulls and pressures by the regional chieftains. You are the one who would decide the policy. You are the one who would implement that policy. The reason why RSS could not work around, or the reason why RSS did not have the requisite heft, is because RSS did not have a stake in the power. For the first time in 2014, and that is the reason why I say, the political footprint expansion, for the first time, BJP, RSS and the other ecosystem got an absolute majority. They were in a position to do what they had wanted to do for a very long time. The Taj Mahal has always been, the various conspiracy theories that it is not to be used. So RSS for the first time has been able to, or the Prime Minister has been able to implement various other motifs, which were there in full display, but were never used or were never part of the center stage, much to the liking of RSS and other Hindu ideologues. Now all of them have been mainstream. And that will further cement, because as you grow in power, as you grow in pelf, as your political footprints expand, so does your ideology, so does your idea of India, so does how you perceive the world, or how the kind of historical shift you would want in India's policy and practice. That is exactly what is happening. And the reason why UPA 1-2 couldn't do, the reason why Vajpayee was not able to do it, because you remember Vajpayee lost the government by 1 vote. So when you are in a coalition government and when you are running a coalition government with an absolute majority, they are two completely different things.
Bhanu, and there's another thing is, he had another template of the politics which Modi has done is surprising people. I'm saying surprising people. If you recall, a lot of stories were broken that Prime Minister Modi is going to change 35A. A lot of newspaper published it, exclusive reports. The next day, the 370 was gone. For example, a lot of people said that, he would have his anti-corruption drive. Demonetization came in. A lot of people felt that, there might be prolonged and active discussion on the central vista, the war memorial, and the new parliament. He took the decision and they came in. This surprise part of his politics is also very, very unique.
Absolutely. See, more than a surprise, I would say it is his originality of thinking, which is coming from the way way he had grown up in politics, and also his deep planning and thinking. So, and all of these seemingly surprise decisions were not taken at a whim. If you look at the Article 370, it was 2 years in the making. Similarly, with demonetization, even if you look at this G20, he had a visit to Greece, which we later realized was related to the corridor that was going through Middle East and Europe. So he thinks 5, 6 steps ahead, and also his whole politics revolves around deep planning and Antyodaya. When we talk about details, right? The devil, we say the devil is in the details, but I would say that the Antyodaya is in the details because he cares about people. He sees how the last mile delivery will impact people. So and also like commenting on one of the previous points that you made, Kartika, is that there's a saying that uh, many centuries live in India simultaneously, right? So there is we are in the 10th century as well as in the 22nd century, right? So that's what we say, and Modi ji has made peace with this very clearly. So what the Congress did was to negate our past. They actually tried to negate our Hindu past. But Modi ji belongs to the stand of thinkers and doers, right from our rishis to Swami Vivekananda, Arvindo Ghosh, and so on, ultimately to the modern day thinkers. And he was able to put into practice a live thought or live philosophy that was alive for so long. And that is the beauty of it. And even within the, like what Arvindo Ghosh said, that when India rises, she rises for the world. Right. So that is where we are right now, and we are looking at becoming the third largest economy in a few years. And he is not only he's pulling his party, he's pulling his government and bureaucracy, and even pulling the society along. Because we have to upgrade ourselves, not I mean, the leader is great, but we have to upgrade ourselves, and he's pulling everybody along. And one of the other big things I want to mention is that none of his policies and programs are dogmatic. Okay, they are not steeped in dogma. For example, economists talk about, like, doles or versus incentives, right? He actually does a mix of both. He
Sanjeev,
doesn't.
I think I will put it in a different way, and I'll throw it open because this was fifth or sixth part of my points which I thought I'll take. ठीक है, political opponents can say Modi ji ने बहुत सारे चीजें rename कर दिए. He's renamed lot of schemes. ठीक है, you can give it to them. The governments do, but I think his contribution is that he has streamlined the government policies. If you ask me, the same policies are there. There's not much of a difference between what was there in UPA and India. I'll give that credit to UPA. But the mastery, Gautam, lies in streamlining them. For example, Jandhan connecting to DBT, DBT getting connected to your Aadhaar accounts getting connected to your digital accounts, digital accounts getting connected to your Digi Yatra. When I was coming back from Bengaluru, this Digi Yatra thing, what did it do to me? My Aadhaar got connected to Digi Yatra, and my photo was cross-checked, and I straight went inside the security. In fact, there were people with the boarding passes, and I had done my job in 25 minutes. So, what is it? It is innovation within the existing schemes. Isn't that, Gautam?
Yes, and a very dramatic and widespread at that, and so much so that I think many of our innovations are going to be taken overseas by as many as 12 countries who have shown interest in UPI, for example. The degree of digitization that has happened in India is greater than that in the West. And of course, we have numbers on our side. And because of that, the bugs are ironed out, and people are able to access many things. One of the big Philips, of course, you always get some benefit out of a calamity, was the whole COVID business. The vaccination program was wonderfully handled digitally. And it is something that was able to inoculate 100 crore people. It's unimaginable. The US and Europe were struggling with their, um, relatively small populations, and here we managed to do it with 100 crore out of our 140. The rest were probably children. It's quite remarkable, and all of this didn't exist before 2014. I mean, if it did, it existed in theory. Congress was good at starting something but not implementing it, and then standing up later and saying, I started it. Yeah, you did, but you never finished anything.
Okay. Another template, if you disagree with me, you can tell me, Sanjeev. He also changed the template for political campaign. If you recall, political campaigns for state elections were very different. I also started my profession in 1998. If you had state elections, for say Andhra elections, you had the general secretary, and then in last the Congress president would go, then the senior leaders will do 5 or 7, big rallies. They had a state template. Even if you recall, I was in school, N.T. Ramarao's campaign against Rajiv Gandhi was not a national campaign, though it had a larger Krishna, Ram and cultural template, all India, but it was very state-centric. I still remember in Sardar Patel Vidyalaya, teacher came and announced that MGR is no more. And I was very surprised, who is MGR? North Indian boy. The school got closed, we were sent back, but then, we realized them as like state leaders. And after 2014, suddenly every election became like a Mahabharata, 20 rallies, even if, a state where BJP lost, how many rallies did Prime Minister did?
Several rallies, I mean more than around 20, yeah.
20 rallies, 15 rallies in Himachal Pradesh, calling candidates, Prime Minister calling candidates, ek seat ke liye, please step down. This sort of a, every state
24/7.
election, 24/7 politics, and every state election became a Mahabharata. It's like you have to be test ready for every state election, isn't that? That's a big difference.
Yes. Basically, if you see the style of electioneering under Prime Minister Modi has also gone a sea change. This is something, and this is primarily driven by the fact that unless he wins the elections, he cannot implement the policies that he wants to implement. He is just
Absolutely
keep
agree.
it in mind
Correct.
that he is.
Correct. I absolutely agree. Election and policies, he has linked them together. Yes.
Yes, because if you are honest with your policies and given the kind of the vision that he has for the country in the long term, unless he wins the elections, it's just not possible to implement any of the policies. And when it comes to the policies, one incident I would rather cite here, that he works on the micro steps of the policies. Just in last year 17th of January, he declared in the World Economic Forum that in the business and entrepreneurship domains, around 25,000 rules and regulations have been discarded by us ever since he took charge. Now, can you imagine 25,000 of the rules were there in this country under the nose of the leadership, which were not required. They were archaic. They were creating hindrance for the progress of the entrepreneurs and the business community. So he worked on the micro steps, and he also said that this is not the end. We are going to tirelessly work on this to smoothen the process or the canvas for making it business friendly. So this is where the honesty of the Prime Minister cuts in. He works very honestly on the micro steps. He works on the policies which are required, and he works on the roots of everything. This is what is a clear differentiator, which gives him a full marks, 10 on 10. Unless and until it is not just for the namesake of it, he really gets into it in a very honest mode.
Okay.
And that is what is the big differentiator.
Okay, but there is also a flip side to it, and Bhanu, the flip side is, because if we have said that these are 10 things which he has done perfectly well, the flip side is the relationship between him and opposition has deteriorated. Why? That is also part of the legacy. I haven't seen such bitterness. Let me also evaluate the other side of it. Taarif-e-Qabil, बहुत सारी चीजें हैं, and we have put them on plate. He deserves it. He came from nowhere, no political family. I mean to say, he has done everything on his own, no godfather. But then there is also a legacy part. There is a lot of bitterness. Where is this bitterness emanating from?
First of all, from his, like what you said, his success, he came out of nowhere and they tried very hard when they were in power to pull him down, but they were unable to. Also, Modi ji is also, the leader of a civilizational or ideological war, right? Like between forces on one side and the civilizational forces on the other side, right? So I think he's a lightning rod for those emotions. And because of that, the opposition really, really hates him. The way he conducts his campaign also, right? So there, he was one of the first to embrace
Or is
technology,
this bitterness
right? And
emanates
also,
from the fact, the sort of relationship he had with the centre when he was the chief minister? He felt that everyone in UPA went after him, So, okay, theek hai, ab to
yes,
let's give it back.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, it has been a very, you know what happened during the 2010s.
See, I don't mince
right? The
words,
whole ecosystem-
I don't mince words.
Yeah.
If it has to be a
the
riveting
whole
conversation, we got to say things. We would have said things in our drawing room conversation.
Absolutely.
Then people will relate to it.
Absolutely. So the media was against him. The law enforcement agencies were against him, and the political system, the whole international ecosystem was against him. So it was like Modi versus the rest of the world. So obviously, when he overcomes that, and with the support of the people, he comes to power. So the opposition will feel absolutely demoralized and decimated, right? And not just once, two times with clear majority. So obviously, that will be very hurtful, and they've still been continuing what they were doing. It's not that they have relented. The ecosystem is still in place. They are actually still spewing venom, but still, like Modi ji is able to win, and he's also very well loved, and that's what like really irks people. So
Manu, you
people
haven't
really
answered my question. Manu, you have skipped it. Gautam,
I did.
No,
I did.
I asked, is it because of the Gujarat experience? Is it because of the Gujarat
Yes.
experience? Okay.
Yeah.
Gautam,
Yeah,
do you think so?
So,
That because I have seen Vajpayee ji, it's not that I was a senior reporter in 1998, I was a cub reporter, but I have covered Advani ji. I was in the Week magazine, I covered him from 2000 onwards. I knew when people would go to LOPs, I used to cover briefings of Arun Jaitley, I used to cover briefings of Sushma. I knew how LOPs would meet with the leaders, what would happen. But that's not the case in 2014, that relationship is absent. I saw that in Parliament. I stopped going after pandemic, different job, different work, but I have seen that for 20 years. Some things have changed.
Well, the key thing I would say is, caused by a sense of entitlement. When you talk of the opposition and you talk of the UPA, you're actually talking of the Gandhis. Now, it's a remarkable family, Nehru, Gandhi.
We need to correct ourselves. There is I.N.D.I.A India.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but it's still Congress. Without Congress, there's no India.
Okay.
And in Congress, there is no Congress without the Gandhis. And the Gandhis think they own India. It's their sense of entitlement. Until that changes, you can't really expect very much. And the deep resentment comes out of being out of power. And so they're doing their nut, trying to, come up with really rather fringe issues to try and corner the government. It has no substance, but it is full of that frustration and bile that comes from being thrown out of power and still being the largest part of the opposition. It's a sort of an irony with the whole business of power stuck in the Gandhi's throat.
I think it's also, Brijesh, you will have the concluding part I'll ask you, but it's also about, and the last part, his control of the optics. I forgot, that's also his contribution. People will say that, how can you say it's a contribution? But then any other party, any other person who will come will try to control the optics the way Prime Minister has done it. In terms of control over audiovisual, even today, if I have to just behave like a person who analyzes the screen, I would say he's playing to a word called Karam Yogi. He's even working on his birthday, Sanjeev. That is what is happening. Now, that's the message which is going out.
May I just add one line?
Brijesh, all yours.
It's like I heard Gautam and I agree with it. But you know, the thing is that you know, the equation is always there. You know, when the BJP is on the other side, you know, when the BJP is in opposition, everybody behaves like that. For the first time, the frictions have come to a loggerhead. It has never happened before.
Okay.
And what the reason is that, you know, if you look at if you analyze the politics before 2014, from 2010 onwards, you know, the persona of non-corruption also, there was also a big event which acted as the biggest catalyst, which people now don't talk about, was the Anna Hazare movement, which and the Nirbhaya gang rape case. You know, they were the one which dented the credibility and destroyed the image of Gandhi Parivar or the Congress like never before. So, you know, the Gandhis never controlled it, because as I said, you know, it makes all the differences whether you are running a coalition government or whether you are running an absolute power, a government with absolute majority. You know, a Delhi police commissioner ordered a lathi charge and water cannon on the protesting students. And you know, whether you are a journalist or you're not a journalist, you know, the sight of that, the visuals of those enraged many people. You know, all it would have taken was to removal of one police commissioner, which could have altered the narrative.
But they couldn't do it. They couldn't do because it was a coalition government.
It was a coalition
lot of interest.
Absolutely.
That is why, just to our viewers, that both me and Bijesh decided that political stability will be the first point.
So winning and implementing
first
policies
point
is second.
Of Modi's
first
contribution,
is you win.
because political stability leads to continuity in policy, good or bad. Political stability is also required for economic growth. Political stability is also required for taking tough decisions, not easy decisions. Yes, it's a different thing that today parliamentary BJP is slightly cagey on the using the word, you know, to use parliamentary wherewithal or use of parliamentary strength to steamroll the decisions, because opposition says that, you know, you are not building consensus, but I would say that comes with the strength you acquire with the electorate. Sanjeev, before I close in this discussion, and I think I'm opening it to all my guests. Prime Minister Modi is seeking a third term.
Yes.
If he does that, he will be the only Prime Minister after Jawaharlal Nehru to do so. Correct?
Yes.
Do you think that the Prime Minister will come in the same league of Jawaharlal Nehru?
See, Prime Minister has established his own platform, his own radars. And
I am asking
it's
a very
unfair
straightforward question. People compare Modi with Indira. They compare him with everyone. Till today, no one has compared with Nehru. I am asking you this question, whether you agree or disagree. Once he has the mandate and another 5 years, do you think he'll be opening that door? All said and done, Panditji was our first Prime Minister with lot of things done by him which were unprecedented. A pure modernist, you can like him, dislike him, but you can't ignore him. Modernist, secular, influenced by the movements of 40s all across Europe. You know, he was different. So do you think that in another way, Modi comes into that league, Nehru's league?
With due respect to Pandit Nehru, I would only say that when it comes to the practicalities, the ground stuff that Modi has initiated and is doing, Nehru, nowhere Nehru comes near. I mean, you know, he is the first, he was the first Prime Minister, and we all have every respect for him. But when it comes to the implementation of the things,
okay,
in the larger,
I'm not going to. So basically, you're saying
due apologies to Sanjeev. It's like comparing a 6-month-old baby to a 21-year-old boy, and then comparing whether the two can run equally or not.
Okay, Bhanu.
No, absolutely. See, Nehruji was an elected leader only for 14 years, right? And if Modi completes his 15 years, he will obviously surpass Nehruji. And also, he is also one of those people that have transformed the country, like taken it from the 10th largest economy to the third largest.
That's a very important point. That's a very important point, because the elections were held in 1952. First, he was appointed the interim Prime Minister, and that continued till 52. And then, you know, the Constituent Assembly. Yes, you have a point in context of winning elections and then as the Prime Minister. Yep. Yes, go on.
Absolutely. He is going to be the most important person in independent India, he would have actually transformed, he would have taken India from good to great, to use Jim Collins's words. So I think there is his legacy. He would have transformed the society. And more importantly, the cultural and civilizational resurgence of India happened under him. It's undeniable. Nobody can take it away from him.
Gautam.
Well, Nehru is a big deal in India, particularly for the Congress and the opposition that tries to hang their hat on the idea of Nehruvian concept of India. But internationally, I think the last time he was anybody was.
Sorry, I'm not. Just let me be clear. I'm not saying Nehru jaise ho jayenge. I'm not saying that. There is no comparison of Prime Minister jaise. There's a word called jaise. I'm saying that people in popular narrative compare him with Indra.
Will they be in the same league?
They will be in the same league. Jaise, sameness. It's not the sameness. I'm saying the same league. I'm not saying jaise, same league.
Kartikeya, there's no same league. The last time Nehru mattered internationally was Nehru, Nasser, Tito. All three are consigned to the dustbin of history. The only Indian from that era who's still relevant today is Mahatma Gandhi. And as far as Modi goes, if he runs the country for 15 years, the next 5 years as well, he is already a world figure. As I said in my very first bit where the audio might have been bad, he's got an international rating of 76%. Most people thought Nehru was a pain because he was, pro-Soviet, anti the West, and they found him a bore, a lot to say with no substance, lot to say with no standing. That is not the case for India. India is going to number 3 spot, and the credibility of Narendra Modi is such that maximum you can do is use Nehru as a reference point from which he far surpassed.
Okay, if you ask me, all three of you, because all of you have spoken, Brijesh, you have also spoken. My understanding of Prime Minister Modi is, a lot of people, though it's not the time, but I would say that, the critique of Nehru was that he had depth and wide understanding of the subjects, but he was expert of none. And often that led to taking decisions which went awry, wrong. And that became a case in China policy, not my words, but if you read the books written by 2 former foreign secretaries who were appointed during UP era, it is part of the book. But I think the most important aspect of Prime Minister's functioning, which I would say, which will have administrative and political bearing, is that he has been able to do systemic changes in governance. He has been able to bring about systemic changes in foreign policy. For example, decoupling of Israel and Palestine, that was something important to do. So these systemic changes are here to stay for a long run. Now systemic change like 370, I have to mention, it's gone. Or systemic change like there is no hesitation in performing a yajna in parliament. It's an epistemic change, it's like thinking. So those changes are going to stay, or it's whether you can criticize or like it or not long, but the fact that civilizational heritages manifest in inaugurations. Earlier it was limited to the functions of ISRO, and we would say the South Indian scientists are very vibrant, but then even the model of the ISRO went to Tirupati Balaji temple the second time around, the Chandrayaan. So I would say the politics of Prime Minister has been truly transformative. Only one part is there, which is the bitterness between the opposition and the ruling dispensation. It really needs to be bridged because a democracy requires India. Bharatvarsh also requires democracy. But on this note, I would definitely end that Modi at 73 is creating history as we speak. We'll have to wait whether that history will be recreated again in 2024 or not, for which people of India will be responsible and not us in the studio. Thank you all of you for making time for this conversation on News9. Keep on watching our special coverage on Modi at 73. 73 ke Modi. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brijesh.
Thank you, Kartikeya.